it's a cheeky little beer from Tesco, and it's one that somehow has passed me by, so I'm not sure how new it is, but this is Daydreamer by London Beer Factory. Keep watching to find out if this little beer is any good. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're drinking Daydreamer. Now this is a New England Session IPA from LBF, also known as London Beer Factory. And it's in this little can. I picked it up from Tesco, £1.80 for this, in a obviously free 30ml can. And it is a 4.8% beer. We don't know what hops are in it, but I thought, you know, it's a cheeky little one, and I just fancy just a small beer today, so I'm just going to have this one. So let's crack it open, get it in a glass, and see what it's all about. I mean, London Beer Factory, they still do the jungle, I always forget what it's called, Jungle Run or Jungle something or other, and that's a New England pale as well, a New England pale ale opposed to a New England session. And it's very good, and I still drink it now. It's got a great mouthfeel, and it's got a real tropicalness to it. It's got Nelson Sauvin in it, and one of my favourite hops. So that's a really great beer, and that's still available. And that's about £2.40 for a 440ml can. And I've had a couple of other ones within the last sort of few months. I haven't reviewed on the channel that I've picked up from my local bottle shop, and again, they've all been pretty good. So, you know, I think they're worth a bit more time. I haven't seen huge amounts of their beers, but they have been in supermarkets. Anyway, this beer in a glass, it is a yellow, orange, hazy looking beer. We've got just under 2 fingers of, you know, a little bit soapy sort of white head. Yeah, it looks okay. Let's see what it smells like. Yep, very sort of tropical, umbungo-like. You know, it's one of those sort of, smells good, smells fruity, but picking out those fruits is quite difficult. It is a sort of mixed fruit bowl exactly of tropical. So you've got probably a bit of mango, papaya, a bit of pineapple. Then you've got a bit of stone fruits in there, like your sort of peach. Yeah, it smells good. It smells like it's going to be a nice, refreshing beer. So let's dig in. Cheers, everyone. It's light. It's not that punchy in flavour. It's quite a lot of carbonation, quite high in terms of carbonation, really, which you would sort of expect from a pale. So I always find session IPAs in terms of exactly what they are. I mean, they're not, you'd expect a session IPA to be a low ABV IPA, but usually they're more like a pale ale, really. So I don't know how they get to the point where they make it, where they can call it a session IPA. As I say, this drink's very similar to a pale ale. It's a little bit gassy, a little bit carbonated, nice fruit flavours, very much like a lot of sort of, you know, good supermarket pales, like your sort of, the ones that always spring to mind, hop, skip and juice. It's got that sort of, well, it's got that sort of flavour, to be honest. Even things like Northern Monk's Faith. Tropical without anything really coming out. You've got a bit of mango and a bit of orange and a bit of some citrus fruits in there, a little bit of grapefruit, but you know, it's not got a real sort of thick, silky body. It's quite sort of sharp and refreshing, more than sort of like the flavours really sort of stick into your mouth, and it just sort of washes itself away a little bit to it. I mean, it's a session beer, so it's a sort of beer you want to drink a lot of, or you know, certainly more than you would a normal sort of 7% IPA. But for me, again, there's better beers out there. I'd rather pay, you know, what, 60p more and get the Jungle Juice. It's not called Jungle Juice. I'm sure it's not called Jungle Run. Jungle Trip. I'm sure it's called Jungle Trip. Jungle Trip, which is obviously in a bigger can. That's great. It's similar sort of ABV. I think that's maybe a 5 and a bit % or something like that. But that's got better body and it's got nicer flavours. This is very much like a hop, skip and juice, like a Northern Monk Faith. It's a sort of tropical, fruity, light, quite fizzy. It's a tropical lager to some extent, you know, but it's very much, to me, a pale ale. Anyone knows what makes a session IPA different to a pale ale? Let me know in the comments, because you know, that we don't get, there's not that many session IPAs. I mean, yeah, they usually session IPAs are under 5%, but then there's a lot of pale ales that are under 5%. So I'm not quite sure what makes it a session IPA opposed to a pale ale. Let me know in the comments if you know that. But this beer, it's okay. 180, if you've got £2 in your pocket and you want a beer from Tesco, you could do a lot worse than that. You know, there's not much you can buy under £2 that are good. A lot of their small cans that they have in there are the likes. I mean, Hepcat's not too bad, but there's a lot of other sort of low quality sort of beers. A lot of the smaller cans, that beers are in the smaller cans, don't seem to be as good as they are in the 440s. But this one is not bad. It's light, it's tropical, it's fruity, it's refreshing. It's just okay. Let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for Daydreamer. And as it's a small little beer, let's try and make this a small little brew. Let's get through these scores quickly. This is obviously a New England, well, it's not obviously, but it's a New England Session IPA, 4.8% in a 330ml can by London Beer Factory. They've sort of changed their branding to the LBF now, opposed to London Beer Factory. Aroma first. Well, you know, as I say, for any sort of low ABV, pale ale, Session IPA, what you want to call it, it's got a fruity aroma. There's nothing big and pungent in there. There's nothing, it's difficult to pick out the actual fruits themselves. It's pleasant, makes you want to drink it. 12 out of 20 for aroma. Appearance. Well, it's hazy, it's light. You can see how thin it is. Not much of a head there. It's a very light, thin, yellowy beer. I'm giving it, but it's a Session IPA, so you expect it to be more like that. I'm giving it 7 out of 10. Flavour-wise, well, I mean, it is light, it's very thin, it drinks like a pale ale. It doesn't have strong flavours. There's nice fruity citrus and tropical flavours, but it's difficult to really pick out them, and there's no sort of complexity at all in them. But it's pleasant and it goes down well. A little bit fizzy, but for the summer, it's probably something that you really want. It is craft beer for beginners, you know. It brings... For me, it brings back memories when I first started drinking craft beer from the supermarkets. And this was the sort of thing I'd probably get quite excited about because it was, you know, a bit different than what I was used to. But it doesn't, you know, compare with a lot of other beers, it doesn't do it as well. I'm giving it 32 for flavour. Value for money. Well, this little can, it's only a 330, but it's 180. So, I mean, you know, it's probably similar if it was in a big can, price-wise, it'd be under £3. Which isn't bad. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for value. And my overall experience, well, it's just all right. I mean, it's, you know, hop, skip and juice is vocation, and a lot of people really like that, and I don't mind it. It's a good beer. It's similar to that, similar in body, similar in flavour. The other vocation ones are a bit similar to that as well. There's a lot of pale ales in supermarkets, too many they're just not very memorable. And this is, you know, it's the same as that. I couldn't tell you what hops are in it. I'd probably say there's Citra in this. It's got that citrus or flavour, probably something else, but I'm not quite sure. It's just okay. I mean, if you're looking for a Session IPA, I still think that, you know, I know it's connected with Brewdog, but, you know, that Cloud War Session IPA, I think it's probably the better Session IPAs that's available. That's not bad. It's got a better body, that has, anyway. So 13 for overall, because it's a refreshing fruity drink, and in the summer maybe, you know, it's a barbecue sort of drink. It really is. It just goes down really well. It's nice flavours. There's no real bitterness or anything, but that's about it. 13 for overall. Tighten the scores up, we get 72 out of 100. Yes, I'd still recommend it. As I say, if you've got a small amount of money and you just want one bite can of beer, then this is not bad. And, you know, again, I can't think off the top of my head the small cans of beer that are as good as this. Certainly, I mean, I very rarely buy a small can of beer anyway, but, you know, I think it's a lot to do with the fact that you don't get the better beer. So if you want a small can, this is probably a good one to go for. But 72 out of 100. Hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know if you've had this beer, what you think of it. London Beer Factory. I'm planning to be down in London in a few weeks' time, and I hope to go to their place down in southeast London because, as I said, I've had some good beers from them. Be interested to see what it's like on draft as well. So hope you enjoyed this video, and until the next one, you know what you do. Keep on rocking.